Okay, hello and welcome to the MSDynamicsWorld.com Spring 2013 CRM webcast series. I am Jason Gumpert, and joining us for today's event on CRM mobility is Brad Koontz, Director of Product Marketing at Customer Effective. Brad's a veteran of the Dynamics market, CRM, and other products as well, and he's also an active blogger and participant in the Dynamics community. If you search our site, you'll also see that he shows up in a range of our articles as a great source of insight, and we're really glad to have him today. So as we get started, I just want to add that we invite you to add your feedback and ask questions today during Brad's presentation, and there are a couple ways you can do this. First, you can feel free to use the QA block and the chat block that you see to the right of the slides right now, anytime during the session or afterwards. And we'll also be tweeting a bit, perhaps using the hashtag MSDWCRM. So feel free to add your feedback and questions there as well. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome our speaker today, Brad Koontz.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Let me get my desktop sharing here, and we'll go ahead and get started to talk about CRM mobility uncovered. Real quick, again, I am Brad Koontz. I'm with Customer Effective. We are a CRM implementation partner, Microsoft CRM implementation partner, that we have been in the Microsoft CRM game since 2003 version 1.2. And we specialize in CRM and really do just CRM in related technologies. So on the agenda today, what are we going to talk about? First, we're going to evaluate the range of mobile options that are available today. And we're going to look at several tools, and we're going to make recommendations for achieving success. So when I say what is available today, first of all, we're going to look at out of the box. We're going to take a look at Microsoft Mobile Express, which you may or not be familiar with, and if you currently use Microsoft CRM. We're going to talk about Yammer and how Yammer and the Yammer mobile app is going to be another integrated way of consuming and collaborating with your CRM data. CRM browser for iPad, we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at the sales experience, and then we'll talk about what's coming out of the box. We'll talk about the mobile client app for Windows 8 and iPad that's going to be coming out in Orion and uses the kind of UI that we're seeing a whole lot of, the Metro UI with the tiles, the live tiles, and that kind of thing. We're going to look at the CRM browser client for iPad. We're going to talk about what's available out there in the marketplace as far as ISV solutions go. We'll talk a little bit about custom apps and framework and talk some about the decisions that go into and the decision matrix really that we use to help clients understand when custom app dev and when a partner produced framework would be a good solution for you. We'll talk about some mobile strategy basics, talk about how we really like to start with the strategy first, the overall CRM strategy, and not the tools, because that seems to be a common mistake in mobility is you fall in love with a tool and then you try to shape your strategy around that. We've kind of got a different approach that's worked for us. We'll talk about some functional recommendations and some project recommendations. How do you make a mobile project successful, and what really is the right approach. A couple different ways that you can ask questions today. Jason already discussed a couple of them. If you would like to ask a question during this presentation and put it inside of WebEx, that'd be great. We'll try to answer what we can at the end of this. And if you think about a question later and want to reach me, you can reach me at brad.koontz@customereffective.com, product@customereffective.com, or my Twitter handle is @FinServCRM. So I'd love to hear from you and get to know you. So first, let's level set real quick. What is mobile CRM? And it seems like a pretty basic question, but I think it's always good to kind of understand where we've been and to kind of understand where we're going with this. The way we talk about mobile CRM is really anytime that you access CRM data in a non-traditional way. And when I talk about a traditional way, I'm talking about accessing CRM data from a CRM app that's at a stationary, workstation. And so obviously, that includes phone, having access to CRM data on your phone, but also on your tablet. And when we talk about mobile, we really take that one step further, because what we have found is that portal access, being able to access that experience and access the data that you need to get to on a portal that maybe is not your computer, maybe it's not your workstation at work that sits in your office, maybe it's one that that you have at home and that's not your primary workstation, and maybe it's somebody from outside your organization that needs to have constant access to your CRM data on an ongoing basis, and that's when we try to recommend portals. So we definitely keep portal as part of the mix in there. So now that we know what it is mobile CRM, we try to take a look at why is it important to really have enterprise data in the field. And a quick story that we like to talk about when we talk about why it's so important to have this out in the field. And and this is really gets you thinking, this is beyond just having the right contact information on your phone, because to me that's mobile CRM kind of 101. But take it kind of a step further. We had one of our customers, it was a trucking firm, and they were kind of an early adopter for mobile CRM, and they put CRM on iPads for their sales team. And they didn't just want, like I said, contact information or that customer 360 as far as basic information. They really wanted deeper information about their clients. So their sales staff was equipped with iPads in the field with order information about their clients, invoice information about their clients. And what was happening was that some of their customers had agreed to specific level of purchasing commitment out in the field. We were able to push that information to the field, to the right people at the right time. And while they were engaged and while they were sitting directly across from their customers, they were able to realize this mistake. And this was happening throughout the organization. They were able to realize this mistake and recoup some of those dollars that were not being purchased per their agreements. Protected their relationship, but it also meant a great deal of revenue that was previously lost revenue for the trucking firm. So the lesson there really is, if it had just been contact info, the error would not have been caught. We had the right data, the right place, at the right time. The error was caught, and the revenue was recovered. So the problem that we're dealing with inside of mobile CRM right now is that there are almost too many different types of solutions. We know what CRM looks like out of the box on our workstation. We know what that looks like. We've been dealing with that for 10 to 20 years, depending on who you ask. As kind of an enterprise. But right now there are so many different ways of accessing CRM from a mobile device. So it's hard to figure out what the best is for your company. So before we do anything else, we're going to look at the tools, and maybe that will help us understand the range of potential solution options. So each square on the screen there kind of represents a multitude of options, but square one is really off the shelf or out of the box, right? And so that's going to be a Yammer smartphone app, for example, the iPad sales experience, Mobile Express, the fact that we have cross-browser support that allows you some level of functionality on an Android tablet, for example, with Microsoft CRM. The next square is ISV, and this is the marketplace solutions that are available, Resco, CWR, 10 Digits, and others. A lot of times this recreates CRM on your mobile device, which is what people sometimes are looking for. It typically involves a a full license for the solution client that's there, and we'll take a look at these specifically, Resco and CWR, as we get deeper into this presentation. The next two are custom app dev and a partner mobile framework. And really, you know, that's kind of two different areas in the same kind of in the same area, but it's really the idea that you have a guided process, business process that you need to follow. You might have a situation where you have you need to deploy these specifically for your business. It might be some XRM applications that you need out in the field, and we'll take a deeper look into when ISV and off-the-shelf doesn't really meet your needs, and when you want to go to a partner mobile framework or custom app development. So the first thing that we want to look at, and I've actually got an iPad emulator here, so we can kind of take a look at that, if we will. But this is the iPad sales experience, and you know, this is a couple things to consider when we talk about this. This is not an app. I was able to access this just like you access normal CRM. If you have CRM Online currently, and you know, obviously you would have UR12 at least rolled up, and you can access this. So just use your URL, pop it into an iPad, and kind of see what comes back. And this is probably something similar to the kind of experience that you'll get. A couple things to understand with this, that this data, you can see that there's some data there that's important. So this is data that is specifically tailored to the activities of a salesperson. For example, I don't see cases. I don't see case information on here. I do see leads. I do see opportunities, accounts, and contacts. I do see a dashboard that has the kind of information that I need. But it is a great tool for sales folks who use CRM Online, who are out in the field, but want that somewhat similar experience to Microsoft CRM, what they're used to, but it is optimized for a tablet. And so that's really what this is good. And there's a couple of things to consider before you go diving into this. First of all, you must have an iPad 2 Plus. Will not work on iPad 1, and that has to do with the fact that you've got to have Safari 6 Plus in order to do that. So like I said, it's just limited to contacts, accounts, leads, and opportunities. It does, however, have what's new in dashboards. This is not how you would get your Yammer feeds. If you have Yammer integration currently, it will not render on the iPad. The live example that I showed you right here, we actually have Yammer integrated into this, but you see where you would normally see these, all you see are the system posts. So you're not going to be able to see the full Yammer experience. So there are a couple of drawbacks. Okay. Something else that it does well. This is another view of the iPad sales experience, and you can see what it really does well is this Flow UI. So if you're a user of Flow UI or considering it, and you've already determined that Flow UI makes sense for your organization, then I think that this is also a good alternative and a good way to utilize CRM Mobile for sales forces that have an iPad. You can use this. The Flow UI was kind of built with this type of thing in mind in the first place. So this is really a good opportunity to use that. So next up, if you've been around CRM for a while, you're probably familiar with this, but this is our good old friend Mobile Express. The great news is that you already have it. So if you have a smartphone and you have CRM, I recommend that you try to type your URL into your browser inside your smartphone. and see what you come up with. If you don't like what you see, someone with administrator privileges can go in and drag and drop and try to get the right fields to be exposed, the right entities and the right types of records to be exposed. It has the same type of form designer, although it's flatter and simpler and more like a list than the kind of interface that you're used to in your browser. But nonetheless, it can give you some very basic information that you want to. And one of the cool things about Mobile Express that I think people forget is that it will use the native abilities of your smartphone to do things like, click on a hyperlinked address, it's going to find your address. To use the dialing capabilities, if it sees a hyperlinked phone number that's underlined, you can see over here on the far right, you've got that phone number. When you click on that, it's going to make that phone call out. So for some people, this is a just fine approach, Mobile Express. If you have a CRM license, you already have this license, so you absolutely own it if you have CRM 4.0 and above. The biggest con of this, I think, is kind of apparent, really just by looking at it. It's a bit of a dated UI. If you remember when they designed Mobile Express, the predominant smartphone in the market was the BlackBerry. So this was something that was really kind of ahead of its time 5 years ago when it was released. And now, like I said, the UI does look a bit dated, and that sometimes can affect user adoption. So Yammer Mobile. So this is something that is, Yammer Mobile obviously has been around for quite a while, but the integration is something that's relatively new to Microsoft CRM. If you've been following this story in the last year, Microsoft purchased Yammer. They're a social collaboration company. They make a social collaboration tool, and you can really think of Yammer as Facebook or Twitter for the enterprise. So in the way that you, on Facebook, you follow your friends and you follow your family to kind of keep up with what people are doing, especially when they're spread out and things like that, you can do the same thing inside your enterprise with Yammer. And so having this on the go is great, especially when the primary use case is internal collaboration. So if you're already a Yammer user or looking for a way to bring the enterprise collaboration and meld it with CRM, this is a great way to do that. But really, what does this have to do with CRM? Well, CRM can create auto post, which will get passed into Yammer and will keep your Yammer subscribers up to date with what's going on in CRM. And the scenario that we like to talk about is something as simple as an opportunity in a sales organization gets updated. So if you have an opportunity that gets updated inside your CRM system, it's going to post that opportunity update to Yammer. And if you have Yammer users who are not necessarily CRM users, they will then know that, so-and-so just closed an opportunity. It was a big opportunity. It's going to mean great things for our company. They can get congratulatory remarks. They could add feedback if necessary. So that's just kind of a very simple use case about how CRM and Yammer can work together, especially in kind of a mobile setting. And the Yammer app is already a standalone app. It's available for free on Apple, on iPhone, Android mobile devices, and of course Windows Phone. The one consideration that you want to think about when you're thinking about Yammer is Yammer is a freemium service, which means you could have Yammer set up for your entire organization. It could be free, but you certainly get to a certain level of usage and a certain level of functionality around how you organize groups and how you integrate with CRM. Then you need to buy an enterprise license for Yammer. So that does add a little bit of cost. I believe last time I looked it was $3 or $4 per user per month. So what's next? So what's coming from Microsoft as far as out-of-the-box functionality? So what I'm showing here on the screen, and let me pull this up, and this is a preview app of the Orion sales experience for Windows 8, and I'm very clear about that because this is not necessarily Orion. This is a standalone app that would exist as a tile on your Windows 8 start screen that would be specifically built for salespeople in your organization. So once again, this is not full-fledged CRM on your Windows 8 tablet device. This is a very focused on a particular role, and in this case, it's sales. So you've got the Metro UI, you've got the personalized activities that are coming in, and this is kind of, to me, where it gets cool. You've got other data sources that are able to that you're able to put in here as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, especially around mobile framework and custom app dev. And so we've got activities, once again, that are really focused on this particular role. So that's what's coming. This is going to be one of those things. Plans are that this is going to be one of those things that's going to be out of the box with the Orion, we hope. But I think we're getting a general feeling around the product team at Microsoft CRM that the roadmap is really putting mobile CRM central to really everything they do, and I think you're seeing that as you're seeing the UI changes in the desktop experience and what you're looking at now, which is really focused on being a mobile experience for CRM. Okay, so ISV Solutions. So once again, 10 digits, Resco, CWR are examples here. And the great thing about these guys is that they have a reference toolkit. They have designers. And we really, when we recommend this, this is that kind of middle place between the out-of-the-box things that we've already shown and then the custom app dev and partner mobile framework that we'll talk about later on in the presentation. But this is that middle place where people need more flexibilities in their views and their forms that's above and beyond out of the box. If you think about some of the UI in the screens in front of us, this is a modern, this is a richer, fuller UI that's really built for the way we operate on modern smartphones and modern tablets. That is really light years away from the Mobile Express that we looked at just a while ago. Also, with all of these, we've got device-specific, or not all of them, but some of them we have device-specific client software. We have the ability for role-based configuration. And once again, all of these I think are pretty easy to use point-and-click configurations. Kind of a different feel for the configurator than Microsoft CRM. So there is a little bit of a learning curve there when you do that. But for a lot of people, this is a great solution. So CWR Mobility, what you're looking at here is just a quick demo animation about how you go on, how you find an opportunity inside of CWR Mobility. And the point of showing that really is to show you that to a certain degree, if you look on the left-hand side, we're recreating to a certain extent the fields and forms experience of Microsoft CRM. So if you have a case where someone needs access to the same things that they need access from their desktop, we sometimes will recommend CWR Mobility. We also recommend CWR Mobility when they need offline access, because we find that for some people this is a real concern, and when that's the case, this is a great thing. They have different clients in CWR Mobility. So you have a client for iOS, for Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry. So if you have any of those devices and you're the least bit interested, I would recommend going to the App Store downloading the CWR Mobility app, and they've got it has demo software demo data when it comes up, so you can play around with it before you buy it and before you tie it into your CRM system currently. So once again, these are some examples of the smartphone. So it's not just limited to tablets, obviously, inside of CWR Mobility, but there are different smartphone apps as well, standalone apps. So once again, each app is tweaked a little bit to work on the device. If you see the BlackBerry device, I showed that example because we all know that interface is a little bit different than some of the other interfaces that we're looking at these days. So they've done a great job of keeping up to date with that and making sure that experience is seamless across devices, even though the client software is going to have to be different on the inside. So the next example that I wanted to talk about as far as as far as Marketplace ISV Solutions is Resco, and this is another ISV, and this is really platform independent, developed in C#, and in the future, HTML5 extension will provide read-write access to the local CRM data from JavaScript. So, and they do have a solution that provides a configurator tool, and these configurator tools, you configure this inside of your CRM instance, and then you're able to deploy it to multiple devices without a client download. So as far as when do we recommend this, it's when the deployment options especially need to be you know, and easy to deploy without having to manage client software out in the field. So the next option we want to talk about is CRM Mobile Framework. And so the question is, you know, what is a CRM Mobile Framework? Earlier in this, we talked about what is CRM Mobile, and what we found is that we, as a partner, as a Microsoft partner who focuses on CRM, and we are not unique in this, because I certainly know that a lot of Microsoft partners are doing the same thing. But we've developed a mobile framework, and what we've done is develop this so that we can easily deploy these custom solutions without having to build them from scratch. And so in our case, this is really CRM plus XRM, which is, you know, the custom solutions, plus external data sometimes, because a lot of times we're building these mobile applications that are going to expose data other than the data that we're looking at inside of CRM. We like to focus a lot on business processes, understanding these business processes and trying to improve process performance within your organization through these mobile apps. And then we've also tried to have a secure and personal experience with this. So when does this really work? When is it good to use a partner mobile framework? Well, first of all, what we found is when you have discrete processes. So that's when we have specific tasks that need improvement, and this really creates the best chance for business process improvement and user adoption. So if you think about, when we talk about discrete processes, think about the app effect, and that is where before apps, if you think 5 years ago, before we had a bunch of apps and before we had app stores and things like that, you would just kind of go to the World Wide Web and kind of hunt around for what you needed. But now when you need something very specific, I need the weather app because I need to know the weather, where I am and what it's going to be like tomorrow. I could find all that from the internet, but now I've got an app on my phone. So just think about the real discrete processes that you're trying to improve upon, and that's where we found that you really get great user adoption. You find that one thing that they're looking for, that your users are looking for, and you improve on that on that process. The next item is less is more. We're not trying to recreate, with our framework, total CRM experience. We feel like some ISV partners do that very well. We feel like there are some good out-of-the-box options for that. So that's never been our approach, is to recreate the CRM experience. We just try to focus on getting people the right data at the right time, and that goes back to understanding these discrete processes. And then, you know, as we do this, our development strategy is really to build single code solutions that are connected to CRM and other data sources. And we want to make sure that they can be deployed to multiple devices and platforms. So it's the whole, you know, build once, deploy everywhere type of thing. But we want to be able to make sure that whatever device you're on, whatever browser that you're using, you're going to get the same access to the same type of data, even if you have to get it a little bit differently, even if it's going to look and feel a little bit differently because your device is going to be different. But the framework allows us to have that scaffolding built and then kind of build around it as we need to adjust it for your specific process or for your specific business needs. Great. So here's a good example of some of our mobile framework that we have built and has kind of worked well for us. On the screen, you'll see a project that we did for a recycling company, and this really fits the bill for us because this was a case where this recycling company needed to get information about their company into the hands of their customers, not into the hands of their salespeople, but into the hands of their customers. So we built, on top of our mobile framework, an app that gathered data from CRM that included where are all of the company contacts in a particular area, and how do you get to them, what are their names, what are their office hours, and that kind of thing. So we built this app. The recycling company was able to give this app free of charge to their customers. Their customers downloaded it. It had a great adoption, and what we saw was that their customers embraced it, used it, and engaged better with their sales team proactively than they would have without it. So this is a great example, a very small thing. Once again, what you're not seeing here is you're not seeing a recreation of CRM. You're not seeing opportunities, contacts, and accounts. You're seeing a very specific process. You're seeing other data utilized. In this case, it's mapping service that's utilized, and we're able to do that. So another example of how we've done this in our organization with our mobile framework is another example called Advisor to Go, and the scenario here is this is a financial advisor. They needed to do one very specific thing day after day, and that's meet with their clients. So what we did was we built them a dashboard, and this is the first thing that they see when they open this when they open this solution. What they think that they're opening is is an app. It looks like an app. It acts like an app. It sits on their desktop. What it really is behind the scenes is a HTML5 with a wrapper on it that opens up, acts like an app, and then tells them, number one, what are you doing today? So that's data that's coming from CRM. Number two, what kind of new actions do you need to know about today? Any hot opportunities, any new accounts that have been opened? That's data that's coming from CRM as well. Then in the middle, we've got some news information. Just this is coming from basic news feeds. So once again, we're utilizing other data sources to make sure that that's getting in there as well. And then we've got a list of clients, and so these could be clients that they're going to meet with or whatever. But if you look over here on the left, I see that I've got lunch with Alex Dalton. So that data is being pulled in, and then lo and behold, I've got Alex Dalton over here. So I'm going to go to Alex Dalton's record, and when I do this client meeting, not the client record, but the client meeting that I'm about to have with him is pulled up. So once again, very, very specific business process, very discrete process, but just the data that I need and not having to shift through a normal CRM type of UI. It's very specific. I can come in here and I can see from our portfolio management system, I can see the recent transactions. So once again, using a third-party data source. See the same thing with investments, and I can engage with that data the same way that I could inside of CRM 2011, where I drill through and so on and so forth. Got access to all the documents over here as well. And then I can also use this to do things like play videos. And as I do these things, as I come in here and I play videos and I open up documents and that kind of thing, as I do that, it's going to build the client review for me. So when I finish my lunch appointment with Alex, I can come in here into my client meeting record, and I can go ahead and see that, you know, down here at the bottom, you know, it says that we opened this this document, Africa B total return PDF, and then my marketing department can understand that and use that to, you know, to fine-tune their document creation. So this is just a good example of how we've utilized our mobile framework to do that and create a very, very specific business process. But you know, from a technology side, one of the reasons that this works is that we're able to, this is a responsive UI, meaning I'm able to open up this record of Alex on my phone the same way that I open it up, and it's going to know that the framework that we have is going to let the portal software know that it needs to fit the phone. And once again, this really aids in user adoption. This also helps with data quality, because if you give the people out in the field the ability to enter the data when they need to enter it, the data that they enter is going to be better. Because the old way of doing this was to have a yellow legal pad, take your notes on it, put it in the back of your car. When you got back to the office, hope that that information gets back into the system. Giving them the ability to enter this information on the go really improves data quality. So the next thing we need to talk about, really, we've talked about a lot of the tools, and the next thing we typically like to talk about is really, where do you start? Where do you start from a mobile, for starting a mobile project? Well, we believe that you need to start with the why. We've kind of shown you the outside. We've shown you the technology and what it can do. I think it's important to know that when you go into it, but really understanding the strategy behind why. Are you trying to increase overall CRM adoption? Are you trying to increase data quality from the field? Are you trying to increase productivity? Are you trying to satisfy user demand because your users are telling you, hey, I'm not going to use CRM because I'm always mobile. I'm never in the office. So a lot of times you're going to be doing that. So first thing you need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And then after you ask yourself why, then you can start talking about the how. What's the implementation philosophy that we're gonna understand, that we're going to follow? You know, how are we going to make sure that we have found success in satisfying our strategy? So that's the how, and we think that that's where that partners play a role in your mobile project, is helping you understand how, and then finally what. And that's what we've talked about here. We've talked about the technology. We can also help, and this is true for all partners, they can help not only help you with implementation principles and how, but they can also help you focus on what. So functional recommendations. number one, and this is a little bit of a repeat of what we've been talking about, but we recommend you take an app approach. This is, once again, simple tasks, guided processes. Secondly, right data is not all the data. So picking up from right data. So these are our functional recommendations that we have for mobile projects. The first one was app approach, second one was right data. The third one is social. So remember that mobile is inherently social. So we need to take advantage of the always-on nature of mobile devices. And what that does really, especially if you're trying to focus on collaboration. So if you have any type of scenario where your folks need to focus on collaboration, think about how inherently social a mobile device is, and see if you can utilize that aspect. The fourth one is use your mobile features, and when I talk about that, I'm really talking about the functional technology that's inherent with these things. Mapping, certainly a good example. We talked about that earlier. The second example that I always like to talk about is about pictures. You know, if you think about the fact that most smartphones have good cameras on them, we have seen cases where some of our projects that we've helped our customers with, examples like home appraisals. So if you've got a situation where guys were going out doing home appraisals, taking a picture with a camera, loading it into the CRM record immediately, and then it's available to the whole organization. So that really speeds up this appraisal process, which if you've ever bought a house, you know, can take a little bit longer than you probably think it should. So these are the ways that you can kind of utilize the mobile features. But we always recommend to think about these four things as we do that. So our project recommendations. So recommendation number one, treat your mobile selection just like you would a custom development project. Start with requirements from your stakeholders. Evaluate all the options against the requirements and define an implementation plan. You got to execute it on time, and you got to execute it on budget. Too many times we see people that try to execute a mobile project like a, let's call it a CRM Phase 2C mini project, and it's really not. It needs to have its own budget, it needs to have its own project management team, and it needs to have its own oversight and goals and strategy. Recommendation number two, don't confuse tools with solutions. So getting too focused on a specific tool or trying to buy like a plug-and-play tool can a lot of times lead you to miss the marks with your users, and really that's your audience. And so this is probably something that we can all kind of relate to. There's a lot of really cool technology out there, but a lot of times the technology and the whiz-bang aspect of it doesn't always fit whatever business process that you're trying to improve. Recommendation number three, focus on user adoption. User adoption with our organization is always the number one metric that we measure success of a CRM project by. We've got to know that the users have adopted CRM, and the same thing is true for mobile, especially for mobile. So we want to make sure that that you're focused on the right mix of mobile tools. And that's not always when I say mobile tools, I don't always mean devices. That can be a mix of technology, a mix of data sources. But you've got to get that mix right if you're going to get your user adoption right. So next steps, if you're considering a mobile project for your enterprise, first of all, experienced partner. And we certainly are biased, but we certainly recommend a partner that has CRM experience and mobile experience. Certainly not one that is a mobile app dev shop that doesn't understand CRM. They're going to miss the mark. And if you have a CRM shop that doesn't understand mobile, you increase your chances of failure there as well. So experienced partner. Scope, cost, and adoption. Of course, these are very important, and we just talked about that with our recommendations last time. But certainly, things like partner mobile frameworks can help you make sure that your scope stays where it needs to be, your cost and your adoption can be more accurately focused and proven. And really, our role, like any other partner, is to help you evaluate these things and really come up with the ideal mobile solution for your situation. So wrap up, this is what we've talked about today. I'd love to use this opportunity to take any questions that we have. Jason, I don't know if we have had any come in through the chat, but certainly if you think of any later, I can be reached here if you have any questions about anything that you've seen today.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Brad. One question that has come in, and maybe it's something that I think others are wondering, is just a simple one, just about access to your slides and how they might follow up on that. Would it be best to send you an email?
Just send me an email. I'll send them back to you. I'll send you the deck.
All right. So a couple questions coming in here. One is what tools were used in the dashboard that you showed?
Let me see here. I showed a couple of dashboards.
The mobile version of the dashboard that was demoed. Person clarified.
Let's see, the advisor to go. Was that the scenario? Let me get this right.
Yeah, that's the one. This one. Referring to.
Yeah, this one right here. We used and I don't have my developers here, so I'm kind of on a crutch without those guys. But I'd have to get back to you on that. I know that there are some brand name tool sets that they've used for that, but I'd be scared to give you the wrong one, because I know that truth be told, we actually have two different mobile frameworks, and it kind of depends on your use cases, and it depends on some security requirements that you have and stuff like that. So if somebody shoots me an email, I'd be happy to get you the right answer on that.
Brad, one thing that I wonder about especially with the development, let's say, or investing in a mobile solution, is keeping them compatible as devices move forward so quickly and the platforms move forward so quickly. Is that a concern that you hear from customers, and how do you address it typically?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So HTML5, I know that that's been kind of a hot button topic in our world, especially lately. You've seen that some organizations are moving away from it, and a lot of and more towards device-specific apps. But what we have found is that HTML5 is probably the future, and especially when you get into the tool sets that help you deploy HTML5 solutions on different applications. It's pretty exciting. So if you think about these tools that let you wrap your HTML5 solutions into a device-specific solution, right? So it just kind of wraps on top of it. Then you're able to kind of secure that for the future, right? So if I wrap this up for iOS, if I wrap up, for example, this advisor to go one right here in iOS with an iOS wrapper on it, I can still continue to develop the core application or the core solution, and then wait for iOS to change, and then worry about my app wrapper as a separate project and a separate entity and a separate thing that I'm going to need to focus on moving forward.
Okay, great. And there was actually another question that came in that was basically on the same point. Are more people building native apps, or do you think the actual app development has already moved into the HTML with the wrapper?
The second one. We're 2 years ago, when we first started in the whole world of CRM mobile custom app dev, and while we were developing our framework, it was all Apple, right? So it was all iOS, and that was the bulk of what we did for almost a year. But then, really, when you saw Android, and it all comes back to BYOD, right? And everybody is going to have a different one. And you know, at the end of the day, we're still Team Microsoft too. So we've developed some stuff even in C# for Windows 8 specific. But what we found is that we have yet to come across we've come across a couple organizations that were maybe a year ago. They said we're going to buy iPads for our whole sales team, and that's where we got that from. But since then, I bet in the last 6 months we've had no one who is buying the same device for their entire team. They're letting people bring it in. So the requirement really is you got to build once, and this thing needs to be able to work on anything.
All right. We have time for another question or two here. Let me throw one more out. You were mentioning building kind of the right app for the right device or the right size device. Is it common when you're sort of scoping requirements for development of a mobile app or deployment of one for people to try or want to do too much in the sort of space that they have for the kinds of devices they're going to be using, the kind of business processes they're going to be working with them on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest. I think it's a pitfall. When you know, and that's why, you know, for us is, I mean, we're a consultancy at the end of the day. We have a big dev shop inside of our consultancy, but at the end of the day, we're a consultancy, and we have pushed people to tell them that they need to use Resco, that they need to use CWR, or that they're fine with Mobile Express. We've done that as much as we've done, hey, let's go build a mobile app. Because what we find is that some organizations and their processes don't warrant it. You know, they don't warrant the investment, and sometimes they can be cool and they can be safe. That's once again, you fall into the trap of falling in love with the tool. You know, sometimes we show them the custom stuff. We're doing, oh, I want some custom stuff because I want my logo up there and I want to be able to take pictures. But you might not need it. It might not show any sort of ROI for you. You might step away from it and say, why did I do that? You know, that was pretty expensive and it was cool, but at the end of the day, I just need opportunities, leads, and accounts. That's what my people need. So there are sometimes other ways to get it there. When we go down the road where we start to look at requirements and we're seeing that they're trying to recreate CRM on a mobile device, then that's when we bring our consultants in and say, let's look at the whole spectrum here. So.
All right. Well, Brad, thanks so much for talking to us today and answering some questions, and thanks to everyone in the audience for sticking around and for attending today. We are recording today's session, and we'll make it available on our site in the next few days, and we'll try to keep you updated on that as well. So thanks again to everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.